God's advice today. Have you ever felt that God is trying to speak to you, yet in the busyness of life, His signs go unnoticed? This message invites you to pause, reflect, and open your heart. Perhaps this is exactly what you needed to hear today. Watch until the end with openness, and if these words touch you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to receive more messages like this. Don't forget to check the pinned comment for a 1-minute prayer and a recommended message to help strengthen your faith even more. God says, "My beloved child, I call you by name in the deepest part of your spirit, not with a thunderous voice, but with the constant whisper of a love that has never walked away, a love that remained even when you hid, even when you doubted, even when you thought silence meant absence. Before your lips learned how to ask, I already knew every desire of your heart. Before your feet grew weary on the road, I was already ahead, preparing rest for your wounded soul. I saw your delays, your attempts to fill the emptiness with passing noise, your nights when fear spoke louder than faith, and still I stayed, because my love does not move according to your performance, but according to my faithfulness." Do you feel that you are ready for a deep change in your life and in the lives of those you love? Sometimes all we need is a small step of faith to open the doors to abundance, peace, and the blessings God has already prepared for us. A simple 1-minute prayer can be the beginning of a spiritual journey that transforms the inside and reflects on the outside. If you desire to attract more light, balance, and prosperity, spiritual and material, click the link in the first comment. There you will find a simple practice, guided with love, that can help you connect more deeply with the divine presence in your life. This moment is not ordinary, it carries eternal weight, and my voice reaches you not to condemn you, but to awaken what is still alive within you. There is hope where you thought there was an end, direction where everything seems confused, open arms waiting for your return. Do not come close in fear, come close in truth, for I do not reject the heart that returns broken. Remember what is written, so he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him and kissed him. Luke chapter 15 verse 20. Today, I am still running toward you. Comment, I hear the voice of God and I respond with an open heart. Pause now, child. Do not rush. Do not try to understand everything. Do not analyze with a restless mind what must be received with an open heart. Just stay. Allow silence to find space within you, and let the voices, both external and internal, quiet down for a moment, the ones that insist this moment is ordinary, that it can be postponed, that it makes no difference. It does. I did not call you without purpose, I did not lead you here by accident or distraction. This moment does not belong to many, it is yours. It is intimate, gentle, carefully prepared. I do not ask for speeches or promises born of guilt or fear. What I desire is simple and deep, your sincere attention, your full presence. While the world pushes you to run, produce, and prove, I invite you to stop and simply be. While everything demands answers from you, I offer you rest. There is something powerful about being with me without masks, without defenses, without hurry. True presence begins to heal even before a single word is spoken. Here, exactly where you are now, invisible adjustments begin to take place within you. What was out of place starts to realign, what was heavy begins to lighten, and what seemed confusing gently starts to make sense again. Just stay. I am here with you. Comment, I pause and choose to be in the presence of God. I waited for you in every season of your life, not as one who counts time with impatience, but as one who guards promises with faithfulness. I waited when your heart was confused and my voice seemed distant among so many others, when the noise of the world drowned out the whisper of truth. I waited when weariness weighed on your shoulders and made you question everything you once believed, when you thought stopping meant failing. I waited when you hid behind rehearsed smiles so you wouldn't reveal open wounds, when you chose to appear strong instead of being real. My waiting was never empty, never absence. It was full of hope, care, and purpose, because I know the end from the beginning and I never lost sight of what I placed within you. I know the potential that has not yet bloomed, the strength that remains even when you feel fragile. I did not call you merely to survive your days, but to flourish within them. I did not form you to carry an inner silence that suffocates you, but to walk in communion, with a heart aligned with mine. Even when you did not notice, I was at the door, present, constant, waiting not for a performance, but for a sincere response. Remember what was said, "Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in." Revelation chapter 3 verse 20. I am still here. I am still waiting. I still believe in you. Comment, I open my heart and allow God to enter. Perhaps fear is trying to rise now, whispering old doubts, bringing back fears you thought you had already overcome, fear of what might change if you take a step, fear of allowing hope to be born again, fear of being disappointed once more after so many broken expectations. I know that fear, child. I know its roots and the weight it places on your weary heart. But listen to me with tenderness. I would never call you if I were not willing to sustain every step of the path opening before you. I do not ask for perfection, because I know your limitations. I do not demand ready-made answers, because I value truth more than rehearsed words. What I desire is sincerity, a heart that is open, even if trembling. A willing soul, even if wounded, is worth more than 1,000 empty promises made in the impulse of fear or guilt. When you respond to me, it is not about obligation or following rules. It is about allowing a living relationship to be restored. It is not about religion, rituals, or outward appearances. It is about reunion, about returning to the place where you are fully known and still fully loved. Here there is no pressure, there is welcome. Here there is no condemnation, there is care. Give me only what you have now, even if it seems small. I know how to turn small steps into secure paths, and hesitant hearts into dwellings of hope once again. Did you know that there is an effective method to attract greater financial prosperity? This technique can help transform your deep-seated beliefs and change the way you perceive reality. It had a profound impact on my life, and we would like to invite you to explore this special practice. When we trust that God wants to act in our lives, we gain the courage to ask Him directly. God desires to bless each of us in a unique and wonderful way. That's why it's important to seek His blessings with faith and confidence, believing that He has a special plan for you. If you would like to support our work and the team dedicated to bringing content that inspires and transforms, we invite you to check out our product. The link is available in the first comment, so you can discover how this technique can also help you on your journey. Your contribution helps us continue sharing messages that make a difference. We deeply appreciate your trust and support. The prolonged silence shapes paths, and I call you now because I do not want you to choose distance out of weariness. I know that when the heart grows tired, the temptation is to pull away, to close off, to protect yourself. But there are decisions that do not shout, that do not cause immediate impact, and yet they quietly transform destiny. That is why I speak to you with clarity and love, not to accuse you, but to awaken you. This is a turning point. Not because everything will suddenly become easy, but because everything can begin to be healed. Healing does not start in circumstances, it begins in listening. I do not work only on the outside, adjusting situations. I transform from within, where no one sees, where the choices that shape tomorrow are formed. Do not harden your heart out of fear of feeling again. Do not confuse silence with absence. I am still here, calling, waiting, sustaining you. When you choose to listen, even while tired, even while wounded, something aligns within you. My voice does not come to harm you, but to restore the spiritual sensitivity that the weight tried to steal. Today, if you hear my voice, do not harden your hearts. Hebrews chapter 3 verse 15. My presence does not force you, it sustains you. I do not pressure you to be stronger than you can be. I surround you with care so you can breathe again. I know that for a long time you carried burdens that were not yours, responsibilities that never belonged to you, guilt that others placed upon you unfairly. You tried to be strong when what you truly needed was to be cared for. And I saw every moment you swallowed your tears so you would not be a burden, every night you held others together while you yourself were exhausted. Here, with me, you do not have to pretend. You do not need to wear masks or prove anything. You can rest. You can be fully seen, without judgment. You can be restored at the pace of grace, not of pressure. Transformation begins when you stop fighting alone and accept that you were never meant to walk without support. I am refuge when the world feels heavy, shelter when your soul feels exposed, direction when your mind grows confused. In me, your weariness finds a safe place. In me, your burdens are lifted and shared. Remain. Surrender. Trust. A new season is approaching, my child, even if your eyes cannot yet clearly perceive it. There is a harvest being prepared while you thought everything was standing still, while you believed heaven was silent. Nothing you endured was wasted. No tear fell in vain, each one watered invisible seeds that are now forming deep roots. Every season of waiting strengthened you in ways that haste never could. What I promised has not expired. Time has not canceled my purpose, nor delayed my faithfulness. I am at work even when you rest, even when you doubt, even when you do not understand. A seed makes no sound while it grows, but the day comes when it breaks through the soil. So it will be with you. What seemed like delay was preparation. What felt like loss was pruning. Trust the process I guide with precision and love. Keep your heart steady, because what is coming is not the result of chance, but of perseverance. Those who sow with tears will reap with joy. Psalm 126 verse 5. Comment: I believe God is preparing my harvest. Allow me to heal not only what hurts, but also what made you believe there was no more hope. There are old lies that need to be broken, words spoken over you in moments of pain, conclusions you reached when you were exhausted, identities you wore just to survive. You are not late. You were never forgotten. You did not lose your value. Even when your faith wavered, my faithfulness never did. I have been steady while you felt unstable, constant while you felt uncertain. My provision has never been limited to what can be touched or counted. I provide peace when your thoughts are restless, clarity when everything feels blurred, and a restored sense of identity when you no longer recognize yourself. I am healing the root, not just the symptom. I am rewriting the narrative you accepted in silence. What you thought was the end was only a pause for renewal. Let me work deeply, gently, completely. Comment, my identity is secure in the hands of God. The Holy Spirit is moving now in a way that is gentle yet profound. He does not break doors down. He reveals the paths that were always there. He brings light without noise and direction without pressure. Where confusion once dominated your thoughts, clarity will begin to settle like calm after a storm. Where heaviness weighed on your chest, lightness will return, little by little. Where fear dictated your decisions, courage will be born, not loud, but steady. This is not something you force or earn, it is something you receive. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord. Let Him guide your steps, even when you do not see the entire road. Trust His timing, His whispers, His confirmations. He knows exactly where you are and exactly where you need to go. Comment, I allow the Holy Spirit to guide me. Respond to me, my child. Not with long speeches or perfect words, but with a willing heart. This moment is a beginning, not a conclusion. The journey continues, but now you walk it with awareness, with companionship, with purpose. You are no longer alone in your questions, your decisions, or your waiting. Everything can begin to change because you chose to listen, to pause, and to answer. Even your smallest response matters to me. I have not moved away. I am here, as I always have been. I will walk with you through what is familiar and what is new. Trust that each step forward carries grace. This is a new season unfolding, not because everything is resolved, but because your heart is open. Comment, I respond to God and begin a new season. My beloved child, hear me now with a heart that is willing to rest. I want you to understand that my waiting for you has never been passive, never empty, never distant. It has been full of intention, full of care, full of a love that knows exactly when to speak and when to remain quiet. I did not wait as one who is uncertain or distracted. I waited as one who sees the end from the beginning, who understands the fragile places of your soul, and who knows how much weight your heart could bear at each stage of your becoming. Even when you believed I was absent, I was nearer than your breath. Even when you assumed I had turned away, my eyes never left you. I waited not because you were slow, but because love knows the value of timing. I watched you move through seasons where your faith felt unfamiliar, where the words you once spoke with confidence became whispers or disappeared altogether. I did not recoil when your prayers grew shorter, or when silence replaced conversation. I did not measure your devotion by your consistency, nor did I withdraw because you struggled to articulate what you felt. I saw the heaviness you carried, the exhaustion that made stillness feel unbearable, and I understood why movement felt safer than rest. So I stayed close, not demanding, not accusing, but present. I held space for you, knowing there would come a moment when your soul would grow tired of surviving and begin to long for something deeper, something truer, something that only connection with me could restore. There were countless moments when I could have interrupted your life dramatically, broken in with force, or shaken your circumstances until clarity was unavoidable. But love that coerces is not love. I honored the freedom I placed within you, even when it pained me to watch you walk alone through confusion. I respected your will because I wanted your response to be real, not born from fear or pressure, but chosen freely from the depths of your heart. I watched you wrestle with questions you were afraid to voice. I saw you push forward when rest would have healed you. I saw you tell yourself that endurance was strength, even as your heart grew weary under burdens it was never designed to carry. I watched you learn how to function without healing, how to cope without release, how to appear whole while fractures formed beneath the surface. And still, I waited. Not because I was indifferent, but because I was protecting you. There were truths that would have crushed you had they arrived too early. There were revelations that required a stronger foundation than you had yet built. So I spoke softly, gently, in nudges you often dismissed, in thoughts that passed through your mind like a breeze. That softness was not weakness. It was wisdom. It was mercy. It was me caring for your fragile places while you were still learning how to recognize them. Waiting, when you love deeply, is not painless. It grieves me to watch you believe you are unseen when I am standing right beside you. It hurts to see you blame yourself for wounds you did not cause, to see you internalize guilt that was never yours to carry. I saw you feel misunderstood, overlooked, and alone, even in crowded spaces. And through it all, I remained faithful. My faithfulness was not dependent on your awareness of me, nor on your ability to respond perfectly. I was faithful in the silence, faithful in the pauses, faithful in the long stretches where you believed nothing was changing. Do not mistake the passing of time for the passing of opportunity. Waiting does not mean forgetting. Waiting does not mean love has faded or grown weak. My waiting has been active. While you were unsure, I was guarding you. While you were distracted, I was redirecting you. While you were unprepared, I was keeping doors from closing completely. I softened consequences you never saw. I preserved paths you would one day need. Even in your detours, I was adding depth to your story, shaping compassion, resilience, and understanding within you that could not have been formed any other way. I watched you choose distraction over stillness, not because you did not care, but because stillness felt too heavy to bear. I did not punish you for that. I understood it. You were doing the best you knew how to do with the tools you had at the time. So I waited for the moment when mere survival would no longer satisfy your soul. I waited for the ache that would begin to rise within you, the quiet realization that there must be more than endurance, more than routine, more than simply getting through another day. That ache was not emptiness. It was awakening. You believed I was silent during those seasons, but I was not. I was patient. Silence feels empty, but patience is full of intention. Every moment I waited, I was preparing you in ways you could not see. Your delays taught you discernment. Your detours gave you empathy. Your unanswered questions deepened your capacity to listen. Nothing in your journey has been wasted. There is no version of your story that I regret walking with you through. Even the paths you would not choose again have contributed to who you are becoming. You may wonder why I allowed you to struggle for so long, why I did not step in sooner and make things easier. Hear me gently now. Some lessons cannot be rushed. Some awareness only arrives through lived experience. Some healing only becomes possible when you finally realize you cannot carry everything alone. I did not abandon you to teach you these truths. I stayed with you while you learned them. I do not force doors open. I knock. I wait. I return again and again because I believe in you, because I value your yes, because relationship matters more to me than control. There were nights when you felt an unexplainable emptiness, moments when you stared into the dark sensing that something was missing but unable to name it. I was there. I was waiting. Not with frustration, but with hope. I was waiting for the moment when you would finally look inward instead of outward, when you would allow yourself to feel instead of numbing the ache, when you would realize that the longing you felt was not a flaw but an invitation. An invitation to return, to rest, to respond. Now, as you begin to sense my presence again, do not rush yourself. There is no punishment for the time that passed. There is only grace for this moment. I am not asking you to make up for lost time. I am inviting you to be present now. To answer honestly. To come as you are, not as you think you should be. I have waited because I wanted you whole, not hurried. I wanted you willing, not pressured. And now, as you stand here, aware, awake, and listening, know this with certainty: I am still here. I have always been here. And I am not done with you. My child, I speak to you now with a voice that has never accused you and has never demanded from you more than love itself could carry. I have been present through every season, not watching with crossed arms, not keeping score, not measuring you by moments of strength or weakness, but standing close with a patience that only devotion knows how to sustain. I was there when you ran and when you slowed down, when you almost turned back and when fear pulled you forward again into distance. My waiting was never passive, never empty. It was filled with hope, with prayer, with a quiet confidence that love would eventually be recognized. I did not wait for you so I could correct you when you arrived. I waited because relationship is not rushed, and trust cannot be forced. Even when you interpreted silence as absence, I remained faithful, steady, unmoved. Faithful when you spoke to me freely and faithful when your lips closed. Faithful when belief came easily and faithful when doubt crowded your thoughts. My faithfulness has never depended on your attention. It flows from who I am, and who I am does not change with seasons, moods, or distance. Now you are here, and you are listening, and this moment is not accidental. This is not the end of a journey of wandering, nor is it a courtroom where your past is examined. It is a meeting place. I did not wait so I could say you took too long. I waited so I could say I am still here. Still loving you. Still willing to walk with you. Still ready to carry what you no longer need to carry alone. Do not measure my waiting as abandonment. Measure it as patience that refused to give up. Measure it as love that endured every silent season without turning away. Measure it as faithfulness that stayed awake while you slept through hope. I have waited for you because you are worth waiting for, and even now I am not tired of you, not disappointed in you, not hesitant. I am as ready as I have always been to meet you exactly where you are and move forward together, step by step, without pressure and without fear. There were moments, my child, when you chose silence, and I speak of them not to reopen wounds but to bring understanding wrapped in gentleness. I remember those moments clearly, yet not as failures or betrayals. I remember them as places where fear spoke louder than courage, where exhaustion outweighed trust, where uncertainty blurred the path ahead. In those moments, silence felt safer than response. It felt like a pause that promised protection. You were not rejecting me, you were protecting yourself. You were tired of decisions that carried weight. You were weary of answers that might require change. I saw how heavy your heart already was, and I understood why you hesitated. I was present in each of those moments, even when you turned away. I was there when a quiet nudge brushed your heart, when a thought lingered longer than usual, when discomfort whispered that something was not aligned. You felt it. You noticed it. And then you chose quiet, not out of indifference, but out of self-preservation. You told yourself you were overthinking. You promised yourself you would listen later. You delayed because delay felt safer than commitment. Response felt like movement, and movement felt like risk. Silence gave the illusion of control. You found reasons that sounded responsible and wise. You told yourself the timing was wrong, the situation too complex, the clarity incomplete. Those explanations were not lies, they were shields. They protected you from the unknown, but they also kept you from progress. I saw the moments when you whispered, "Not now." I heard the internal bargains you made, postponing courage for a future version of yourself who felt stronger, calmer, more certain. You did not say no to me. You said not yet. And I honored that choice, even when it cost you peace, because love does not coerce. I want you to hear this without shame. I am not angry with you for waiting. I am not disappointed in you for hesitating. What I felt was sorrow, not condemnation. My sorrow was not rooted in judgment but in compassion. I saw how much lighter your heart could have been if you had answered sooner. I watched you carry questions alone that you never needed to carry by yourself. Silence matters, not because it offends me, but because it shapes you. When you repeatedly ignore what you sense, even gently, your heart learns a pattern. It learns to delay awareness, to quiet intuition, to choose comfort over truth. This does not happen suddenly or dramatically. It happens subtly, almost invisibly. That is how avoidance works. It rarely shouts. It whispers that this can wait. Each time you choose silence, responding becomes slightly harder the next time. Each time you postpone, clarity feels a little further away. Not because I move away, but because sensitivity dulls when it is not practiced. The heart adapts to what it repeats, whether listening or avoiding. If the heart practices listening, it grows sharper and more confident. If it practices avoidance, it grows quieter and more uncertain. I know you did not intend to ignore me. You were overwhelmed. You were already stretched thin. Sometimes silence felt like the only way to survive. You feared that opening one more emotional or spiritual door would cause everything you were holding back to spill out at once. So you stayed quiet. You stayed busy. You stayed distracted. And I understood why. But silence also kept you from relief. It kept you from rest. It kept you from hearing reassurance when you needed it most. It allowed fear to fill the spaces where truth could have spoken. When you remained silent, other voices stepped in, and they were not gentle with you. Doubt grew louder. Self-criticism gained confidence. Worry began to narrate your story in the absence of truth. There were moments when your heart wanted to cry out but your mouth remained closed. Moments when you needed help but convinced yourself you should manage alone. Moments when you longed for guidance but feared what guidance might ask of you. Silence felt like protection, but over time it became a burden. What you meant as a temporary shelter turned into a weight you carried every day. I did not withdraw during those times. I leaned closer. I waited for space, for breath, for openness. I never mistook your silence for lack of desire. I knew it was fear wearing the costume of control. I knew it was fatigue pretending to be wisdom. And still I stayed. I stayed because my commitment to you has never been fragile. I stayed because love does not leave when it is misunderstood. I stayed because I see not only where you are, but who you are becoming. So now, my child, understand this moment not as a reckoning but as an invitation. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not starting over from nothing. You are starting from experience, from awareness, from a heart that has learned what silence costs and what presence offers. I am here now as I have always been, ready to listen, ready to speak, ready to walk with you. You do not need to prove your devotion or compensate for lost time. You only need to turn toward me as you are. Let the pattern change gently. Let listening become familiar again. Let response feel safe. I will not rush you, and I will not abandon you. We will move forward together, not driven by fear, but guided by trust, restoring what was quieted and healing what was carried alone. My child, I do not recount these moments to awaken regret within you, because regret without hope only wounds the heart and leaves it heavier than before. I speak of them so understanding may rise where confusion once lived. Understanding opens the door to change, and change restores movement to what felt stuck. You are not trapped by the silence of your past, but you must recognize it so it does not quietly shape your future. I stayed near you even when you chose not to speak, even when you turned inward, even when fear persuaded you that quiet was safer than honesty. I did not step back. I did not withdraw my presence. I waited within the stillness itself. I softened consequences where mercy allowed. I redirected steps you never saw. I protected you from paths that would have wounded you more deeply than you were prepared to endure. My compassion did not stop because you did not respond. But some things were delayed, not because I withheld them, but because response opens doors that silence keeps closed. Silence can be respectful at times, but avoidance is different. Avoidance whispers, "I am afraid to look," and fear grows strongest in darkness. When fears are not brought into the light, they quietly shape the heart. They influence decisions without permission. They narrow courage until life feels smaller than it truly is. That is why silence matters. Not because I demand words, but because your heart needs truth to breathe. I know you feared that responding would cost you something. You feared losing control. You feared disappointment. You feared that if you truly listened, you would have to change, and change felt exhausting after all you had already carried. So you stayed where things were familiar, even when they were heavy. But my child, silence has already cost you things as well. It has taken peace from your nights. It has blurred clarity in moments of decision. It has delayed rest that was meant to restore you. I do not say this to accuse you, but to help you understand why I speak with such clarity now. Silence has shaped your heart long enough. It does not have to shape it anymore. You are not condemned for the moments you chose quiet. You are invited now to choose response. One honest response can begin to undo years of avoidance. One moment of openness can restore sensitivity that felt lost. It is not too late. I am not here to replay your past or rehearse your failures. I am here to change your present. I am speaking now because I know you are capable of listening now. Your heart is still soft enough to respond. You are still aware enough to feel the weight of this moment. And this matters more than how long you were silent before. Do not be afraid of answering now because of the times you did not. I am not keeping score. I am offering connection. Let the sorrow you feel become closeness rather than shame. Let awareness replace avoidance. Let honesty replace silence. I am still here. I am still listening. And I am still waiting, not with disappointment, but with hope. Your story is not finished, and silence does not get the final word. When you declare that I am your refuge and strength, you are not repeating empty words. You are naming the place where your heart can rest in every storm. And when I speak of a final warning in this form, I need you to hear me without fear filling the gaps. Final does not mean abandonment. Final does not mean my love is ending. Final does not mean I will disappear if you do not respond perfectly. My love does not expire. My presence does not withdraw. What changes are moments, not mercy. Windows, not my heart. There are seasons in your life, and there are windows within those seasons. Seasons are long stretches where growth happens gradually, where lessons unfold through time and experience. Windows are different. Windows are moments of heightened clarity, moments when awareness sharpens and something can be seen, chosen, or understood more easily than at any other time. This moment is such a window. Grace does not run out. Grace does not vanish because you hesitate. Grace is part of who I am. But moments like this do pass. They pass not because I withdraw them in anger, but because time moves forward and hearts are shaped by what they practice. When a window is open, responding feels clearer and lighter. When it closes, responding feels heavier and slower than it needed to be. That is why I speak with such clarity now. Not to frighten you, but to help you recognize where you are standing. You are standing in a moment where response will cost you less than it will later. Right now, your heart can feel urgency without panic. You can sense truth without shutting down. That openness is not guaranteed forever. Final, in this sense, means I will not keep repeating this call in the same way. I will not keep interrupting you with the same clarity and intensity. Not because I stop caring, but because hearts adjust to what they repeatedly ignore. Repeated warnings lose weight when they are endlessly postponed. And I love you too much to allow this moment to become background noise. If I kept speaking the same way again and again, you would begin to believe there will always be another moment like this. That belief would teach you to delay indefinitely. That is not freedom. That is quiet captivity. I am calling you now because response now preserves tenderness. Response now protects clarity. Response now keeps your heart awake. You do not need to respond with perfection. You only need to respond with honesty. Even a whispered yes opens doors silence cannot. So stand here with me in this open window. Do not rush, but do not retreat. Let fear come into the light where it loses its power. Let truth steady you instead of overwhelm you. I am not asking you to fix everything at once. I am asking you to stop hiding from what you already feel. I will walk with you through what comes next. I will strengthen what feels weak. I will restore what felt delayed. Your silence does not define you. Your response will shape what comes next. And I am here, as I have always been, ready to meet you in this moment and carry you forward with love that has never left and never will. My child, I do not recount these moments to awaken regret within you, because regret without hope only wounds the heart and leaves it heavier than before. I speak of them so understanding may rise where confusion once lived. Understanding opens the door to change, and change restores movement to what felt stuck. You are not trapped by the silence of your past, but you must recognize it so it does not quietly shape your future. I stayed near you even when you chose not to speak, even when you turned inward, even when fear persuaded you that quiet was safer than honesty. I did not step back. I did not withdraw my presence. I waited within the stillness itself. I softened consequences where mercy allowed. I redirected steps you never saw. I protected you from paths that would have wounded you more deeply than you were prepared to endure. My compassion did not stop because you did not respond. But some things were delayed, not because I withheld them, but because response opens doors that silence keeps closed. Silence can be respectful at times, but avoidance is different. Avoidance whispers, I am afraid to look, and fear grows strongest in darkness. When fears are not brought into the light, they quietly shape the heart. They influence decisions without permission. They narrow courage until life feels smaller than it truly is. That is why silence matters. Not because I demand words, but because your heart needs truth to breathe. I know you feared that responding would cost you something. You feared losing control. You feared disappointment. You feared that if you truly listened, you would have to change, and change felt exhausting after all you had already carried.